morning. Joel Kriofske grew up with the sense that he could never please his father. His dad, a former FBI special agent, later became afflicted with 2 forms of cancer as well as dementia.
Joel writes about taking care of him in this book, and Good Night to All the Beautiful Young Women, a tale of episodic dementia. The parent becomes the child. But don't worry, even though it's a serious topic, Joel says his book is devoid of bitterness, it's full of humor, and he's going to tell us all about it. Welcome to the Morning Blend.
Thank you.
Great
for being here.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your dad, his background, and really kind of who he was, his work, and how that affected you.
Well, he spent, I think, 25 years in the Bureau, as he would have said. And he was a distinguished FBI agent, had lots of commendations and awards, had some major cases, Nazi saboteurs back in the war days.
Really?
And a gangland slaying, discovered a corpse at Bong, it was Bong Air Force Base at the time, now it's Bong Recreation Area. Those are the 2 major cases that I mentioned in the book. So.
That is fascinating. What's it like to have a dad who's an FBI special agent? I just can't even imagine that.
Well, it was often interesting and thrilling. And when we were kids, after church, he would take us to this, in his words, saloon. He loved going to saloons. He was a prodigious drinker and enjoyed tavern life.
What was his favorite drink?
Oh, beer and brandy.
Okay.
You know, a big beer and a shot of brandy. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Right.
When we were kids, he would take us to this saloon called Rosie Sluga's, where he would meet his double agents.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know they were double agents?
Well, we found out later on.
That's so cool.
And as kids, you know, we were thrilled to be junior G-men. Gosh, it was exciting. And Rosie would bring us our sodas and candy bars, and we'd feel pretty important. And although we didn't really know at the time what was going on until later on when he told us that we were his cover to meet his, you know, fedora-clad double agents. It was great.
Awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
Well, how did your relationship then change when you went into adolescence and young adulthood?
Well, he was, he could be rather verbally abusive. And to me particularly, don't know why. I just
Were you
think
the only son?
No, I was the youngest of 3 children. I had an older brother and an older sister.
Okay.
But for reasons that, well, I think that my appearance, my lack of athleticism, perhaps my more creative bent, incurred his wrath. And he was, as I said, a man who liked strong drink, so that affected his personality and the way he treated me and other people. But he was an enormously funny man. I mean, he was truly a gifted comedian. You know, from the movie Goodfellas, you're a funny guy, Joe. Well, he was really funny. He was truly a gifted humorist and a great storyteller and very charming to everybody but his family.
Right.
At the time.
What about to your mom? Was he kind to your mom?
I think he was, yeah.
Did your mom think he was funny?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They had.
Now, when a parent becomes ill, especially with dementia and cancer, they require quite a bit of care. Did you ever feel sort of resentment, like sometimes my dad wasn't very nice to me and now I'm his caretaker? And why was it you who became the caretaker, not your older brother, your older sister?
Well, my sister was involved, very much so.
Okay.
My brother lives in Dallas, Texas, so he was simply not around to give care. My wife and I and my sister were his really principal caregivers. And yes, I came into the experience very reluctantly, but you know, it's family, so you do what you can and you do what you must. And my sister was insistent that he reside at her house and that we all take care of him. You know.
Some of the chapters are named specifically after the episodes of dementia.
Right.
Talk a little bit about some of those and what you can give away.
Sure. Well, one of the chapters is called Fellow Agents. What would happen for an extended period of time, he would call me in the middle of the night. He was a middle of the night wanderer. So he'd get up and he'd call and he'd say, "Oh, Joey." And then he'd get into this FBI persona. He'd say, "What's your assignment for tomorrow? Murder, mobs, commie infiltrators?" And for a long time I would say, "Oh, go back to bed.
Yeah.
You're hallucinating, sleeping." But eventually we learned to play along, and that was the only way to make him feel better and to sort of accept his own reality.
Could you find humor in that?
Oh, sure,
Okay,
sure.
because hearing you talk about it, it sounds like you find the humor, and that to you is a fond memory, being able to do that.
It's a great memory.
Yeah.
And I loved him. We didn't like each other much in those days, but I certainly loved him. But anyway, I would then, after I got it, after I realized that I had to play along and accept the role, I would say something like, "Oh yeah, we're doing commie infiltration, surveillance, county grounds. My partner is Agent Bodnick. Our squad is MI-25," and then he'd be fine. Then he'd go back to bed or do whatever he was going to do after that.
Was it important to you, your wife, your sister, to sort of protect his dignity? I'm fascinated by especially men being caretakers for another man, their father, who they're sort of maybe afraid of growing up, or they have some weird kind of thing, and then suddenly they're caretaking for that man.
I think we were very protective of him. Shall I tell you one more little tale?
Please. Yeah.
When we'd go to taverns, I'd take him on these outings, and
After he had dementia?
oh yeah.
Okay.
And he would say this well-encrypted statement, "Joey, we have to go to the toilet." So that would mean
It's time.
So that would mean it's time to go to a tavern. So we would go to a tavern. I'd get him situated in the restroom, and then I'd race back to the bar, especially if I knew the owner, and I'd say, for example, "Joe, listen, my father's here. He still lives in the 40s and 50s. When you charge him for a boomba, a big glass of beer and a shot of brandy, take 75 cents, because otherwise he'll call you a crook or a gangster." And
he might pull out his service revolver.
Right, yeah. And I'll put out a stash of money, and you can take the actual amount out of my currency.
Good for
So
you.
they would do that.
They play
often,
along, too.
If they didn't do that, he would start hollering, "You're gangsters, you're crooks,
Yeah.
this is confiscatory." One of his favorite words.
I wonder if, hearing you tell these stories, if you recognize the full circle of, what you said earlier, where you kind of felt like he maybe picked on you because you were the creative one, but yet in the end, that was what allowed you to be his savior and to take care of him the way you did.
A very good point, yeah, and that's true, and we did. I think eventually I was in the military, and when I came out of the military, I think there was a grudging respect, even affection, and that helped, and just developing my own personality and my own independence. He used to say, "I want you to get a job with the government. Join the FBI. You'll get a pension at the end of it." I said, "I don't want to be an FBI agent. I want to be a journalist." So I went my own way.
It's cute. We ran out of time, but I have to ask you just very quickly, did you ever feel a sense of appreciation from him where he truly was grateful for the caretaking you provided?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, I appreciated his great gift of humor. That was always the buoying aspect of his personality in our relationship.
Would he say, "I love you"?
Never.
Never
Never
said it.
said it.
Did you say it to him?
Sure. Yeah. Especially as he lay dying and I was with him holding his hand. Sure, of course I did. Yeah.
It's touching.
Beautiful
Thank you
story.
so much
My
for
pleasure.
sharing your book and your story and your personal memories. People can meet you. It's happening next week, Wednesday, February 24th at 7 o'clock at Boswell Books on North Downer Avenue. They can come out, meet you, talk to you about your book, which is fantastic. So excited. And would he say at the end of the night, "And good night to all the beautiful young women"?
That's another story. It had to do. Do you want? Do we have time? My wife was going to school at the time, and she would she'd be doing her homework, reading books, and so she'd move from chair to chair, and every time she moved in the family room, he would look at her and he'd nod and smile. And so when he finally went to bed, he'd say something like, "I'm going in now, Joey," and I'd say goodnight, and I'd go and help him with his nighttime routine. And before he went to bed, he would stand at the head of the family room and he'd look at all the chairs nodding, and he'd say, "And good night to all of you beautiful young women, and thank you for visiting me." And it was just Mary and myself.
Yeah.
But it was
So
a funny,
cute.
and we finally realized that he thought every time she moved, it was a different young woman coming to visit him.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.